Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Mike Sautter, Hurrdat Sports and NebPreps. Mike, what's going on, man?
Not much. Just in one of these back rooms in PBA, trying to be quiet just for you guys.
Yeah, like the bowels of the stadium, Jerome.
Yes, this is very bowelsy. Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, Damon.
Hey, Jerome, what's up?
How's Aaron Rodgers?
You're so childish. Decent basketball. There were a couple competitive games yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it was a couple. There were two wild endings.
Day one, but still not.
There were two ridiculously wild endings. Obviously, the Barrett Boesinger shot was nuts. But that goes back to one of those things, like people will forget about McCoy Folkerts hitting 2 threes before that actually kept them even remotely close to having a chance to hit a 70-foot shot to win the game.
Live had it. I know that.
Yeah. So like you look at that game, and Pius executed their game plan extremely well. Diamond and 1, switching sometimes to 2-3. They really took Boesinger out of the game, the entire game, with the Diamond and 1. And it's just ridiculous that that shot went in, and Pius went 1 of 6 from the free throw line in the last 30 seconds. If they go 2 of 6, they win the game. So obviously that last 30 seconds or that shot that's going to live in infamy, go down forever, right? In one of those conversations, but it's a good game. Now you have, what some people would consider the Class B two best teams. Yeah, de facto state championship game tonight, and Scott and Norris are the 2 best teams or whatever. So I don't know. Elkhorn North played pretty well last night, and Scottsbluff has an absolute dog in Nate Kelly. I mean, that dude, what he did last night was...
Yeah, nobody happier than our very own Jacob Padilla.
Oh, yeah. He's his number 1 fan for sure. No question about it. So
it's interesting. I want to go back to yesterday with kind of what Donovan Trump, or day before, with what Donovan Trumbull was able to do against Ogallala. And I get Ogallala's injuries, right, with Sawyer Smith, and but I'm kind of texting you real time, and you're working. I'm not. I'm watching, so it's easy to just fire off stuff. But when you look at how they're built going forward against Concordia, do you like that matchup?
For Donovan Trumbull? Yeah, I think they got a shot. Here's the thing. Donovan Trumbull was beginning of the year was oh, in C1 they're going to be, they're one of the best teams. They're top, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it may be. And then they got injured, a little bit of that football hangover too, and then had some injuries they had to fight through. I'm happy for Kellen Burr, their head coach. He's the nicest human, and so he's done a good job. And I like the matchup from the standpoint of they probably have a little more athleticism, but Concordia also has been there in these big moments. And I think that's something we'll see today in particular, of the teams that have kind of been there and done that with their coaching staffs and players.
We saw it with Millard North a little bit, right? I think they're bothered Bellevue West, kind of some of those guys in young spots.
Yeah, and while you're on it, that's one of those things today. Millard North, and I people ask me early this week, when I see them in person or whatever. Shoot, even when I was in Sioux Falls, people asked me about it on Sunday night, who's going to win Class A? I'm like, man, I don't know. It's pretty wide open. But then I was gun to my head, if I had to choose somebody, probably go with Millard North, maybe.
That's what I said.
Just
on it. It's hard, but if I have to choose, it's not like the coaches are going to be mad at me.
No,
I love them all, but I would, because I think when they're playing their best, they're the most diversified.
And the experience of being in their best players have the experience of big moments, big games. They also know, like, hey, the bus needs to leave at this time. We need to be on the court by this time. They've gone through all of that before. And there's something to be said for that. And Derek Rollins, their best player, has played in how many state championship games? Oh, I don't know. 4?
So
Or
do you
three?
think
3? So.
you think Amari guards? Would you let him guard Reese and try to be disruptive like he was with?
Yeah, so Amari guarded. That was kind of Amari guarding Robbie Garcia the other night was something. Changed the game.
That had my whole attention. He's just getting under him the whole time. I'm like, he's a tough kid.
And they use some quickness and stuff on Robbie that they used and not the length and all that. So I will tell you this, Bryson Ball won't be guarded by Derek Rollins. So I don't know what they do. I think Derek's probably going to, on the defensive end, probably going to have Beckenauer or something like that. It's also one of those things like, remember the Metro tournament final, like Levi Webb was the guy, right, in that game. So not only do you have Reese and Bryson, those two get all the attention, and they rightfully so, right? They're seniors, and they've been with Coach Heiser for all 4 years and played varsity and been great. But the other guys like a Beckenauer or Levi Webb, or like you could keep going. They need big contributions. When I say big, 5 to 12 points maybe, or 5 rebounds or something from those guys tonight. And Millard North they kind of are a roller coaster a little bit, and they need to just ride the wave and not get too down.
We saw that the other day when Major got going. Mm-hmm. It's like,
yeah. If he can make shots, if Major's making shots like that, and then everyone else can kind of just.
I think for them though, you know what I think it is? It's their shot selection, because sometimes. In particular, like sometimes they settle for too many jump shots.
Yeah, and Corian needs to get going a little bit too, and he's done a nice job of adjusting, right? Like, because at Fremont he was just taking whatever he wanted, like just doing whatever, and now he's turned more into a point guard, so that changes a little bit for Millard North. But I'm fascinated by that game because in my opinion, and I've said this for 3 years now, like. The best player in the 2025 class is Bryson Ball. And like, I will stand on the table for that for a long time. And was so efficient the other day. It was unbelievable. He had an unbelievable game. So we'll see, like, can he, not let the moment be too big, or his teammates not let the moment be too big. One thing Reese Kircher had 5 assists in the first 5 minutes of the game the other day.
That's why. So I'm looking again. I know it's a team. This is me coaching, taking like what I would do. I would really try to neutralize Kircher's effectiveness, because when he's going and distributing, he's so free flowing. He's just a natural. Mm-hmm. Like if you let him settle in, man, they are tough. Ball's gonna get his, is what I'm saying. Kircher's
he needs to continue. There was a couple of times like where he gets to the paint and made the wrong decision, but like for the most part this year he's made great decisions. So in that moment, and he's turned himself into more of a true point guard. So that one, that Class A game is going to be pretty good. Tonight and even tomorrow, I think, is going to be pretty exciting. Just knowing that, like, you can make a case for any of these 4 teams in the Class A semis tonight to win it.
So let's talk about. Let's go to Westside and Southeast. Westside's one of those teams I probably know too much about, so I don't really ever give them their credit. But what they've been able to overcome, in my opinion, is, that's an interesting team to be as successful as they've been. But when you look at it, this is where they're supposed to be, right? Top 1, 2, 3, 4 all year, semifinals. Now it's kind of like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, and Southeast is the kind of like, not plucky underdog or anything like that because they've been top 10 all year too. But at the beginning of the year, they weren't expected to be here. Southeast, maybe internally they were. And I will tell you, like, the coaching job that Southeast did the other night was pretty good. Like, it was really good. So, and for them, Southeast did not make a field goal in the fourth quarter and came back by double digits to win the game. How? That's incredible. In high school basketball, that's nuts.
Austin shot his shot early. He called it like 7:04. He reminded us that Southeast can't let that happen if they want to win today. So I told him, there's a good chance you're probably right, Austin.
Westside's thing is, again, like, so, whoa, the light just went out in here. Oh, man, I look creepy. All right, hold on one second. I'm going to turn the light back on.
Got a little Blair Witch thing going on there, bud.
Man, it was all that goofy look he gave me, man.
It's the eyebrows.
Yeah, like he'd do something bad. 3rd or 5.
All right. That was crazy. So, no, Westside. That was what we were talking about? Yes. Lineup changes, right? Snotty the other day played a lot, and I think that was just matchup, right? Like, wanted to slow down the Twins a little bit more, a little bit.
Pretty proud of his evolution in his high school career. I'm cheering for Snotty.
And Oddvity might not be fully healthy, right? A little bit. So that's something there. But Westside said it all year since the beginning of the year, all that. They're the one team that looks like a small college team when they get off the bus. So
they got get it going in the opener.
Yeah, Emory was great. Lee was fine. Maturity stuff there still needs to probably be a little better.
Have hands full with Nagoya though.
Yeah, Mikey's good. So who guards him?
He's crap. You got to keep Lee out of foul trouble.
Right. So is it Snotty or somebody else that guards him? Like, you have now Westside has plenty of options. Like, their options are pretty, pretty good. So you have some length and athleticism there. So, and London Dada needs to hit some shots here. I need some validation.
His minutes have been interesting though. You just kind of never know when he's going to get good, chunky minutes. I think he can be a microwave, but flow of the game would serve him well too.
Yeah, I need some validation there because I may or may not have told his dad a little over a year ago that man, that kid is going to be the guy. It just isn't yet. Just hang in there. He's going to be pretty good, and so I need him to validate that for me. So I'm right.
You more comfortable capping
B?
You're more comfortable capping Norris and Scott or Millard North and Papio South?
Norris and Scott, Class B. I'm more comfortable capping Class B for sure.
Even though that's the consensus is where I was going with this. I think both those games, I think a lot of people think that those are the two best teams. And this, again, I get Westside. But Westside always gets the but Papio South and Millard North don't.
Yeah, okay.
That makes sense. At least that's what I hear. Yeah, but and maybe that's just because they know I'm a Westside guy, but whatever.
Yeah, I will say this. Before the season started, even during football season, I'd be on the football field. People were like, oh, what's your top 5 or whatever? I said, well, my personal one to start the year, I'm like Millard North 1, Westside 2. And people were like, Westside 2? What? They lost everybody. I'm like, no, Westside number 2. So that was my start. And Papio South was in that discussion. It's probably one. And then after that, it's a group of, I thought Papio South, Kearney, and Prep in that next group.
I was on the Kearney train.
Yeah, I was in that. That was in my next group. But I did say Westside 2, Millard North 1 at the very beginning of the year. So, or before the season started, before I even went to a practice or anything. So, but I will say B is a little easier to cap. Like, how does Norris respond after that yesterday? Like the emotion and all of that. Now, they're lucky that game's at night tonight and not in the middle afternoon because you have a little bit more time. I will say this. I have said Scott is the best team in Class B. I will stand on that, I guess, and not defer from that. I said it at the beginning of the year before the season started, so I'm going to continue to say that. I just think their matchups are too tough for the rest of Class B. I just do. Unless Elkhorn North can beat Scottsbluff tonight, maybe Elkhorn North can hang in there because you have Sutton and then Jace. Like, Jace Reynolds is a tough I almost said the MF word. But he's a tough kid, and he showed that a little bit last night. So, yeah.
So speaking of Scottsbluff,
what?
What?
Why'd you say it like he was what?
No, I said I was gonna say he's a tough mother, and I decided I didn't want to do that today. I want to be a little more professional.
Look at that. Turning over a new leaf for
growing up right before our very
Michael
eyes.
Jerome Sautter.
Shit.
And we're back. So Elkhorn North and Scottsbluff. How I know all the attention is going on that Scott and Norris game, but you mentioned Elkhorn North there and how they might be kind of the best matchup against Scott. Are they a good enough matchup against Scottsbluff though to get there?
Yeah, well, Nike Orgeable is going to have a pretty big game defensively. Someone's got to have to guard Nate Kelly, and I'm trying to think who is that going to be? How are they going to do it? I will say this: yesterday I was very impressed with Elkhorn North and defending the rim with verticality, or defending the post with straight up verticality. And sometimes they're like, "All right, man, it's not worth getting a foul. You can have it." So kind of run out, layup, things like that. And they've made pretty good decisions. So the guy that stirs that for them, I think, is Kellen Murphy and his ability to stretch the floor and hit threes. He
unclogs that thing, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you can run him off screens and do all of those things. Sutton Piatkowski obviously has been really good for them. So that's why I'm I could see Elkhorn North doing it, and I am more than happy for Andy King, who is one of the nicest humans there is. And I've known Andy for a long time, consider him a friend. And I'm happy for him professionally, if you know what I mean by that. So because I think there was a little undue expectations because the girls at Elkhorn North had a phenom that would have won multiple state championships at any high school in the country. So I think the expectations outside of the building were probably a little too high for a school that's now in their fifth year. So he's done a really good job building the program. Really good job. So it's, yeah.
I can't believe it's only 5 years.
Right. Yeah.
It does seem like more than that, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, let me ask you about what you think you're going to get from a team in Creighton that had to log heavy, extended, emotional minutes.
Well, I think they'll probably show up tonight a lot more ready out of the gate, if you will. The matchup's probably a little better for them too, right? Because DePaul is just firing away threes and stuff. So I think they'll be fine. I think there's that UConn not best friends part of it that will.
I was watching and I would love to be a fly on the wall to just hear the little run bys between he and Ashworth, because Ashworth low key runs it.
Oh yeah,
and Neely is. I mean, I was like, gosh, get the camera off him. He's just cussing his brains out.
Great AD and Blandino.
Oh man, this no love lost tonight. It'll be pretty fun.
Yeah, and I do. I think that they'll play a little better, obviously, but quick turnaround a little bit. Well, for both teams, but there just is not. Man, they don't like each other, right? Like the fan bases and all that.
actually a little worse for UConn, right? Because they played the late game. At least
Right.
a few extra hours, even though they played the
A
double
few,
OT.
yeah.
Yeah. And how about Ty Davis though? Like, good for that dude. Like he stepped up.
What?
Right.
Nothing.
What are you making that face for?
I just think he has to. Just defensively, Max is going to have to work around it.
I'm just saying he stepped up last night when the team needed him. And for the future, right? Like,
and made a free throw.
At several.
I think 3.
4. He went 4 for 4 down the stretch to his last 2 trips. He went 4 for 4.
okay. Hey, what does the future of Nebraska basketball look like? You got an hour? Talk about that.
What do you think it looks like?
Oh, sure.
Well, I wish that they weren't having to go to whatever the hell the Crown thing is in Las Vegas. Just end it, right? Just like, nope, we're good. Don't want to go. But they're going to have to go to that. So, because contractual obligations. I think there could be some reshuffling, and it would be good for them from how do I say this? From a
staff together,
a staff responsibility or staff reshuffling would probably be good. Obviously, the roster is going to change a lot just because you have 6 seniors. Can they upgrade the point guard position? Absolutely, 100%. And frankly, like JJ White is better than Aaron Eulis today and yesterday and probably a year ago.
Guy I was having a lot of conversations with 2 days ago.
So you have, that guy's right down the road and he's going to have another year. I will say this. The one thing for me is the recruiting structure needs fixed.
What? That's the holistic thing I think needs changed.
The recruiting structure needs fixed. What I mean by that is, and I do not understand how this happens at division high major schools across the country. Like, how does the one assistant coach not know what the other assistant coach is doing, and the recruiting coordinator by name only doesn't know whose guy is who or whatever? Oh, that's his guy and that's his guy and he's recruiting that guy. Shouldn't they all be cohesive and working together? Like, what is going on? Like, why is it like, oh, I don't know, because that's this person and that's this person's guy. What? Like, shouldn't you know? And that happens not just at Nebraska. It happens everywhere. I don't understand it. I will never understand it. So I maybe let your recruiting coordinator be the recruiting coordinator a little bit more. There's stuff like that. Now, Fred is great. Like, I think Fred, great human being. I have a good relationship with Fred Hoiberg. I like Nate Lenz, all the staff, all those guys. I'm not saying anyone should be fired, to be honest. I just think there should be some changes, reshuffling. There might be some moves that can happen. I do 100% like the NIL conversation. Okay. Yes, probably could do a little more there, which they're going to do a little more there. And they're going to have a little bit of the revenue share piece too. So,
but that's not it though, right? That's
no, I don't think that's
again,
it.
I don't know where that came from. It was really pissing me off.
Can I ask it in just a couple minutes left here? But
you got as long as you want, Ravi.
I know, but I just don't want to keep. He's got stuff to do. Do you feel confidently when you watch this team, what they're trying to do?
Well, with this roster this year, no, not so much. But last year I felt pretty good about it. Like, I will say this too. If Rink Mass is healthy and playing, one, you don't have Braxton Mia because you don't need to go get him late. And two, they win at least 4 more games with Rink Mass on the floor.
So let me follow it up with this question then. How sustainable do you think it is to try and run a college basketball team by needing a point center to make it work? Because Rink has a unique skill set, right? Like that's
And I think they thought that's what Andrew Morgan was going to be a little bit which not, and then Berke, I think they tried to make him into that a little bit. He's got such a long way to go. Like from a body language standpoint and making good decisions on the basketball court standpoint, he's got a long way to go. So I don't know how sustainable it is, to answer your question, but it should be kind of, aren't we in the position list? Are we back to having positions now, or are we still in positionless basketball?
Well, that's why I kind of asked you if you knew what they were trying to do.
I don't know.
The answer to the question, right? Like that's
no, yeah.
If I don't know what they're trying to do, then I don't know what they need. It's nice to have a point guard that's better than Ulis or Wooster, but like I don't know what they need if I don't know what they're trying to do.
I think they're trying to adjust to what they got every year, like the roster, right? Like
that's a tough way to live.
Yeah, it's a real tough way to live. It's like, hey, we're gonna go get whatever guys we can get, and then we'll figure it out. Versus, does that person fit what we want to do? Like Braxton Mia does not fit at all what we're trying to do. But they had to take a flyer. They had to take him. Like they had to take somebody. Right? Goodness gracious, with the lights. So, yeah. This is wild. All right, there we go.
The thing that I think is we're going to end up talking a lot about, whether it's in the off season or whether when we get to next year, is do we know what they're trying to do? Do they know what they're trying to do? Did they get the guys that can do that? Because that, to me, I know what they were trying to do last year, but last year was different than the year before, was different than the year before, was different than this year. Like, it seems a lot of what they've tried to do is just get the best guys they can and figure it out from there. And I don't know, I think that's why you end up with the level of inconsistency that Nebraska's had.
Yeah, you need to find, I think you just get guys that are in your system, whatever. Now, they also aren't they don't like overpaying either. Like
it's an athletic department thing. It's like just like Nebraska football. They can spend if they want to, but they're going to spend wisely.
Right. They don't want to go be like, oh yeah, we can get this guy for $1 million or whatever the number is. But they're like, well, why would we do that when we can go get two guys that aren't maybe quite as good, that maybe kind of, rotational guys, and we can figure it out for, two for the price of one type of thing. So maybe that's a little bit, that's what seems to be a little bit of where it's at. So I guess we can end on this. We can talk about it a lot, going forward, but I do feel bad about Bryce Williams in kind of you don't want to say a lost season because he was first team all Big Ten and he's great and had huge moments in that. But it's like, man, him and Juwan. Juwan was pretty good now. He was very good for them. Those two guys coming back, and it just you don't even make the Big Ten tournament, and those guys came back for that reason, and to win, to make it to the NCAA tournament again. It just didn't, it just didn't figure out, and it all kind of hinged on the rink mass injury late. It was a late summer thing where he was out. And I think they kind of knew that there was a possibility of that, but I think that
we're going to take to the wire to explore the surgical options though.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. And then you just struck out on the 2 point guards that you had. You really did. You can be better there. Could have been better there. Riley Wooster is a great human being. But just probably wasn't ready for that level. You can get a little more athleticism there too, right? Now, in the future, what does it look like? Well, you obviously have to get 2 point guards, a center, and a power forward or wing guy, and you need just a bucket getter. So
positions, Mike. That's all of them.
Yes, basically every position. You basically need 6 guys.
The whole roster. Just need a whole new roster.
But I don't know. They like Braden Freger. They think he's going to help out. They like Nick Janowski, who I saw in with my own 2 eyes play a high school game, and I thought he was phenomenal in that high school game. But does he have the lateral quickness stuff to kind of? And how big of a step can Connor Essegian take? And how big of a step can Berke Buchengel take if he is back on the roster?
Good questions. Mike, enjoy the day. Enjoy the rest of the state tournament. We'll talk to you later.
Hey, Damon.
Hey, Jerome.
See you later.